Minister Lindiwe Zulu has told the National Council of Provinces, that's the NCOP, that the South African Social Security Agency, Sassa, is opening criminal cases against each public servant who irregularly received the 350 Rand social relief of distress grant for the COVID-19 pandemic. Zulu was responding to a written parliamentary question on Tuesday where she has confirmed that Sassa is opening offices in batches against those implicated. President Ramaphosa in September said the revelation that thousands of public servants have been illegally receiving social grants shows that South Africa has a long way to go towards instilling a culture of ethics in public service. Now, Sassa spokesperson Paseka Letsatsi joins us now to talk about this. Paseka, good to have you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Leon, and thanks for having us.
All right, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of the story now. So we're talking about these public servants. How many about? I mean, I've got a figure sitting in front of me, and something like 5,812. Is that the number that you're looking at as well?
Very, very, very scary. And yet, I'm not proud to look at those figures. The figures are very high. In actual fact, even if it was a single person, stealing a grant which is meant for the poor is such a bad thing. But your numbers are correct. We have about 5,812 beneficiaries, of which we have basically identified as people who have been in the system getting the 350 grant illegal.
Yeah. And I mean, when we talk about these grants, let's just go back right to the beginning. These grants were intended for people that were unemployed, for the people that were receiving zero income, absolutely nothing. And the reality is that during the lockdown, this is what was given to people to basically just put a little bit of food in their mouths. I wouldn't even say for the full month, but this is how it worked. Anybody that didn't have a job could apply for this. And now what we're finding out, which we knew all along, is that public servants were actually taking this money.
No, true, and I think, remember when the first cycle of the 350 was introduced, we had to make sure that we hit the ground running. We had to make sure that the systems are there for people to be able to get the 350. We did not have time. This was for the first time. We never had an experience of administering such a particular special grant. However, what we picked up is that when you are busy trying to make sure that systems are in place, when you are busy trying to make sure that we have as many people as possible to get access to the 350, because COVID wreaked havoc at that time in the end. And unfortunately, there are those individuals who might have identified the loopholes and tried to make sure that they defraud the system. However, we picked them up, and so far, the end, we can say that about 242 of them, we have opened the case. And I think we just want to say we are not slow. We want to make sure that when we take the case and open the case with the South African Police Services, there are no loopholes. People get arrested and they are charged and they are sentenced if they are found guilty.
So, I mean, we talk about that number, which is a bit worrying. I mean, 242 are only being investigated, and yet we're sitting with 5,812. Where are the rest of them? Because we'll get to the proceedings that you've got against those at the moment that you have found. But the thousands more, where are they? And what's the action that's going to be taken against them? And are you hopeful you will find them?
No, we have them. Thanks for the question, Leon. We have them, obviously, in the system, but we work very close with the Department of Public Service to make sure that we validate the process, to make sure that each and individual, the information which we have is correct. So it does not mean that they are off the hook, but obviously the South African Police Services as well advise that the cases be opened at where individuals reside. So we are sure that we are definitely going to come for them, but we need to make sure that at least those that we are satisfied that the information is correct, is accurate, we proceed with them. Hence the case was opened, but we are indeed going to make sure that all of them, those particular individuals who have been identified, cases are opened against them, and we think that the South African Police Service would do the good job. And what is also interesting and encouraging here is that the South African Social Security Agency is not working alone. We work together with all other government agencies we work with the NPA, the SAPS, and so on, and each and every agency whose mandate is to make sure that when there's a financial fraud, they come in. So we think that the process is very much encouraging, and individuals will be nabbed and individuals will be thrown behind the bus.
So I have to ask you this question, though. So, you know, I keep hearing that there are processes, internal processes, but I want to know, are these individuals still working? I mean, are they still in their positions, or have they been suspended? What are the internal processes that you refer to that are being enacted against these individuals that have been fingered for stealing money, basically?
When the process is finalized, we cannot obviously have you working for the South African Social Security Agency. But I'm sure myself and you know very well that when you engage or embark in such a process, you do not want a situation where at the end or midway, when people are being investigated, there's litigation in terms of you not having followed processes. But when there's 100% information, or when there's 100% information that goes towards you, you cannot be allowed to be at work. You must be suspended immediately. So those individuals whose cases have been opened against them would be served with letters of suspension, so that they do not necessarily continue to work in this particular sensitive area. Because you can imagine here, these individuals will have access to our systems and so on. So we can't continue to have them. But we are hopeful that as we go forward, we'll make sure that these people do not necessarily have access to our information. And we are trying to make sure that we move with the speed of light. Because each day, the end which goes by and a person has not been charged and so on, create unnecessary problems. But obviously, we are extremely cautious. We don't want to arrest, we don't want to continue with the SAPS people get arrested. And on the other side, when they go to court, they go scot-free because of loopholes. We want to make sure that each and every step is followed as an organization. People do not necessarily have to use the law to escape going behind the bus.
Yeah. So I'm going to harp on this because I want to know, of the people that have been suspended, I know that the amount is sitting at 5,812. 242 are being investigated. Have the 5,800 that have been identified, are they suspended? Or are they still in the system, and it's just those 242 that have been asked to wait and move aside and let them be investigated? Are the rest still working?
No, the rest are still working yet, because
how is it? Okay, see, now this is where I start sort of thinking, how is that possible? And then, because when I think about this is now dating back to 2020, beginning of 2020. This is when this all started. I don't think that this is new. So these individuals are still in this position that have taken money from people who need it most. They are still working and still earning a salary, and they've been identified. Paseka, we need to get a little bit more of an explanation as to how it's possible.
No, thanks for the question, Leanne. I think it's a very positive question. I think, Leanne, what we are trying to do here is we don't want to find ourselves being litigated that we have done something wrong. Me and yourself know very well that we want to get rid of rotten apples. However, we need to make sure that we follow the due process. We know that there will be frustration that these people have been identified. But those 242 of which the case have been open, obviously they can't be at work. However, we are trying to move with the speed of light to make sure that even these others who are still have to be, the cases has to be open against them. We need to make sure that we move with the speed of light and make sure that they are out of the system. But Leanne, we want you to bear with us. I don't want, and I think the CEO of Sassa would not want to take, or the minister would not want to take a decision that is going to backfire tomorrow. Yeah. I'm sure we all know as an organization, we know as a country that people have got laws which protect them. So we must never move quickly and make mistakes in the way, because tomorrow you are going to call us and say, Paseka, you dismiss people or you serve people with letters of suspension, and now they are suing the organization, and there's a money that we as an organization have to pay. We need to make sure that we focus and make sure that only those who are in the wrong are arrested.
Yeah. So if I may ask, what is the difference between those that have been identified, those 242, as opposed to the thousands that aren't? What do you have on them that they've been suspended that you don't have on the others?
You might have a situation where, Leanne, that you have to make sure that you do the validation. And some of the people in that particular group might have decided once the system catches with them, they resign in the process to run away from being arrested. But obviously, even if you resign, we're still going to come after you. But we have to make sure that this individual is actually in the wrong, does not deserve to get the 350. Let me just make an example here. You might not have gone through the cracks because some people were trying their luck in terms of taking their name within the system, and the system might not have picked up because we were trying to, that was the start of the process. But we need to make sure that when you do the validation process, individuals do not necessarily have a crack where they are going to go through. We need to make sure that it's watertight. Hence, we are appealing to the nation to be very much patient with us. We are going to make sure that we clean up the process. We know that people may be frustrated. I'm also frustrated as well, that we still have some of these people. We need to make sure that we catch them quickly and we remove them from the system.
Yeah.
But fortunately, the law must be followed and must be followed to the letter so that we don't necessarily get blamed tomorrow. And I have to come to SABC and apologize that we arrested people early.
Yeah, so I just want to ask you this, because I do remember that President Ramaphosa said he identified or said there were 16,000 employees that were found on the government payroll that were irregularly paid the COVID-19 social relief after stress grant. Are these separate to those individuals?
They are separate individuals, yet, because you might find that somebody, for example, is getting a grant and this person is employed in a sense that they qualify, because if you apply for a foster care grant, I'm just making an example, it does not necessarily exclude you because you are employed. Even if you are employed, you do qualify to get the foster care grant. So those are the people that might be removed from the system because they actually qualify. But even if they appear on our system, they do qualify. So as we do the validation, we need to make sure that we have the microscope on each and every individual, and only correct individuals are charged. Because I said earlier on that we are working as a team. It's not only Sassa, there's SAPS, there's NPA.
Indeed,
and so on.
I understand that. Paseka, I've got not even 30 seconds. How much money are we talking about here? Can we put an amount to how much money has been taken by these officials?
Yes, it's more than 5 million amount of money which was taken by these particular individuals. And the good thing in the end is that the South African Social Security Agency employees and social development were not found in the system, and I think it's a positive on our side.
All right. We have to leave it there. Thanks very much, Paseka. Thanks for joining us. Paseka Letsatsi is the spokesperson for Sassa, commenting on the steps taken by Sassa to open criminal cases against public servants who irregularly got paid the COVID-19 social relief after stress.